Hi everybody, how are you? It's Sunday night. A little dark, I think this video is. But anyway, how are you guys doing? It's been a wonderful, wonderful week. We've had some really beautiful, harmonious energy this weekend. And that's because of a grand trine. We have Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune all in water signs and exactly forming a triangle in the sky, which means that we have a grand trine. And trines are super harmonious energy. They usually bring wonderful things, harmony, being that this is Venus, Neptune, and Jupiter, it should expand love and imagination, fantasy and illusions. But the downside of trines, there's always good energy and bad energy. Hi, Elaine. The downside of trines is that it can make us a little bit lazy. Trines are not opposing energy. They're pretty harmonious. They flow. And sometimes when we get into that energy, it makes us a little bit lazy, a little bit non-confrontational. And let's face it, when we're afflicted, we are creative. So in trines, sometimes we kind of hum along. However, some of you may have found this energy also was a time when you finally dealt with some of the volatile energy that we've had over the last couple of months. Many times when we go into trine energy, it's our time to actually be reflective and think about what's gone on the last few weeks or few months. Have you ever had a very, challenging time in your life? Maybe someone passed. Hi, Joanne. Maybe someone passed, or you had a breakup, or something really challenging was happening in your life, and you got through it with flying colors, and you were so strong. And then all of a sudden, after it's all over, or a month later, when things quiet down, you have this really harsh reaction, or you finally have your reaction and you break down. That's kind of the energy that we have this month for June. It's a little bit of a quiet month astrologically, and that will give us the chance to deal with a lot of the changes that we've had going on in the last few months. So expect not too many crazy happenings, but do expect to maybe have some reactions to the crazy happenings that the energy in the previous months have brought us. So I'm just going to look at my notes here. What I want to talk about today is a couple of different things. First of all, I want to talk about karma, because there's been a lot of talk in the media lately and on a lot of blogs and Facebook pages about all the energy that's coming in now and how people have to deal with their karma, and that a lot of things are coming back around full circle. Well, that is true because we have a lot of planets that are going retrograde. And towards the end of this month, we'll have Mars in retrograde, so I'll be doing a video about that. Hi, Margaret. Saturn is also going retrograde, or is retrograde, I think. So that also brings back a lot of our repeat lessons. But I want to talk a little bit about karma today, because a lot of times my clients will come in and they'll say, this just must be bad karma. Hi, Vito. This must be bad karma. I keep making the same mistakes, etc. There's a couple of different reasons why these things happen to us when we get into this rotation pattern and, things kind of repeat a little bit. The first is, yes, there's such a thing as karma. And usually we have wounds in our life over many lifetimes, and sometimes we'll bring that energy into this lifetime because we need to clean it or clear it. But people get confused because they think they have to go to the person that they created the karma with to get it cleared, and they need what we call closure, right, in the third dimension. In the 3D world, we're all about closure. Well, that's not exactly what I believe. I believe karma is attached to us and a situation, but it's the energy that we're attached to, the energy of that situation. So many times we can clear that energy without having to actually deal with the person that we had the karma with. For instance, maybe you had a love relationship or a relationship in your life, could be any kind of relationship, and it went bad, it ended really badly. And you really don't want to ever talk to that person again, they're not a good influence in your life, but you feel you need this closure. Well, instead of having to have it with them, think about, what is this lesson? What is the feeling that I'm really feeling? What is the energy that's not allowing me to evolve and go forward in my life? Hi, Karen. And even though these are live videos, you can always watch them back as well. So think about what the energy is. Maybe that energy is something that you didn't feel worthy in that relationship. Maybe there was a jealousy issue, which is also a worthiness issue. Maybe you were very insecure in the relationship. Maybe it was an abusive relationship. Go into that energy, because it has nothing to do with the other. It has nothing to do with the person that you created that karma with. It's your karma. It's attached to you, not them. and it's attached to the energy of the situation and how it came to be and what you allowed in your life. So if we go into that energy, we can clear it ourselves. And how do we do that? By changing a pattern, by healing whatever the wound is within us that caused us to be in that situation in the first place. And that leads me to my second part of karma. Many times I see clients and people who come for readings and things, and one of the karmic contracts that comes out in their life is that they have a habit of what we call loving too much, or maybe loving to their own faults, or they just are so good to everybody in their life, but they never seem to get it back. And so there's an unrequited love oftentimes in their love relationships, or perhaps they just overgive and overgive to the point where they almost get used up, or they feel drained by people. It's not that they are loving too much. It's not that they're so good that they are just like these benevolent people that just spread beautiful sunshine everywhere to the point where they're just wounded all the time. That's not exactly what that karma is. Hi, Julie. That karma is because you are wounded. You don't feel loved in your life. And you give so much love to others because you want it back. You think if you give it, you'll get it. And life doesn't always work that way. The real karma there is that you don't love yourself. And I know a lot of you will disagree, and many times when I have people in a reading session with me and that comes out either through loved one or through a spirit message that they need to work on their own self-love, I always get pushback on that and challenged, because people, especially if they've done some spiritual work, really are like, I love myself. I'm really good. I'm really happy. I can be alone. I love myself. But if you find yourself repeating a relationship all the time where you're giving too much and not getting something back, it's because you don't, number one, love yourself enough to have a boundary. And number two, there's a detriment there with the way that you love yourself and the worth that you feel, because you keep giving and giving and giving because you want someone to treat you that way. And the bottom line is, people treat you the way you train them to treat you. People treat you the way we train them to treat us. And I learned that because I used to be in relationships and I used to give a lot. And I never let anybody really help me. I was always a really, really strong person. And then when I had a weak moment, I'd be really pissed off that no one was around to help me. Well, no one was around to help me because I never let anybody help me. So I trained my partners and my family not to come to my rescue. And then I used to get pissed off when no one came to my rescue. Not a good thing, but it was because I was wounded in myself, and I had to learn to balance the need for help and asking for help with taking help, and balancing that not as a weakness and not do it too much, but also do it enough so that I was loved. So when we give and give and give in all our relationships, our siblings and our children and our love relationships, and we don't get even back, we don't get that requited feeling back, it's because we don't love ourselves, and we're looking for that. We want someone to fill our void, fill our hole. Please, please love me. And what happens in those relationships is we end up grasping, we end up waiting for the phone to ring. We end up, if we don't get a text that day, we're really in a bad mood. If our children don't call us, we're like, man, what am I, a bad mother? So we internalize it because we're not whole and we're not balanced inside. Hi, Christine. So I want to give you a couple of tips on how to work on that. I mean, I'm a work in progress with that. I try to practice some kind of self-love every day. I spend a lot of time alone, and I do that deliberately because I truly believe that in that alone space, we actually fortify ourselves, and we get to be really liking ourselves. And before you can love yourself, you got to like who you are. So the first exercise that I would say would really help with the self-love and clearing karma, because when you have, the less wounds you have inside, the more karma you clear, because you get closure in a lot of situations because you look at them in a more balanced way. So the first thing you have to do is accept the negative about yourself. And we all have negative. I mean, I just described to you one of my very big negatives in my life. And since then, I've really learned to balance. And I have a partner now that it's a very even give and take in the relationship, and it's beautiful, and it's a natural flow of energy. But once in a while, I do feel it getting unbalanced because I have patterns. So every once in a while, I have to look at it, and what I do is I pull back and I say, okay, who am I? Who am I in this relationship? What do I look like in this relationship? And who am I in my life? And that's something that's very hard to do, but you have to look at yourself and really have an honest replay of yourself. And the reason you want to do that and even meditate on who am I, go for a beautiful walk on the beach or a walk with the dog or just sit on your back deck. It's a beautiful evening tonight. And just say, who am I? If I needed to describe myself, how would I do that? And that's a really great exercise in really not only finding out how others see you, but really who you want to be. And meditate on that. And then the next thing is, once you have a clear idea of who you really are, try to be emotionally independent in your life. Now, that pendulum can swing too far to a direction. Hi, Nancy. For instance, I was way too emotionally independent at one time. I really went in the rabbit hole, did not talk to a lot of people, and didn't really want any relationships in my life. Very hard to come back from that when you're that wounded, but you do it over time. But if you can be emotionally independent in a balanced way, and what that means is what other people say and do really doesn't affect you. You become detached enough and an observer enough in your life that when someone criticizes you or praises you, it doesn't have a tremendous effect. It's nice if it's praise. It's kind of crappy if it's criticism, but you just go about your business. People don't affect you, so your emotions so much. Like I was just describing before, you don't get a text from someone important and you're like, whole day is shot. That's not emotional independence. That's you using others to fill a void. So you have to maintain that emotional independence. And not block the people in an unhealthy way. Be loving, accept love, but know that the core of your existence and the where you source your life from is not others. When we do that and we want that validation all the time from others in relationships, no matter if it's romantic or sibling or familial, family of origin, friends, whatever, when we do that, we're trying to validate who we are through their treatment of us. And if you go back to step number 1, who am I? You don't need their validation because you know who you are. And you're creating a life and creating a person and a self that's really strong enough to function without the level of others. And I don't mean that in an unhealthy way. We all need each other to survive. We all need love. We all need each other to heal each other in the world. But when it's becoming dependent, when it's determining the outcome of your life, that's not healthy. The next thing is separate yourself from your thoughts. And this is really something that propelled me into a very strong self. Sometimes my mind races because I get anxiety over things in the 3D world, especially at my job. And especially now because the sun is in Gemini. When the sun's in Gemini, we get a little scattered. It's going to leave Gemini very soon. So it'll go into Cancer, which is a beautiful, beautiful energy. But Geminis, if you ever met one, they have a tendency to talk fast, which I do whenever the sun's in Gemini, and jump from thing to thing and shiny objects, and they're very distracted. And so when the sun is in Gemini, oftentimes we get a little bit of that energy. So our minds might race and we get all these crazy thoughts. Hi, Kathy. And we get a lot of crazy thoughts. So who's listening to those thoughts? Who is the person that's listening to those thoughts? It's you, right? But who are you? Those are just thoughts. Those are not you. Those are thoughts in your head, right? So if you can separate yourself from those thoughts and think about, who am I listening to these thoughts? Who is the person listening to these thoughts? Then you get really strong. I'll give you an example. I had something I had to do the other day and I was being filmed. And I started to get anxiety beforehand, which I don't usually have a lot of anxiety if I stay in my spiritual practice. Yoga brings me to a place where I have zero anxiety, so got to do yoga. But I had to do this film thing for work. I had to do a video for work, and I forgot to do my hair that morning, and I really wasn't wearing a nice outfit, and I started to go in the bathroom to put on a little bit of makeup, and the thoughts in my head started to come like all at once. Oh my God, you can't go on camera like this. oh my God, you're going to stumble. You don't know what to say. You didn't prepare. Why didn't you prepare? Why did you go to sleep so late last night? And just on and on and on. And then all of a sudden I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, who's listening to this? What are you doing? Who is the person in this mirror? You don't even think like that. Forget that stuff. They were just thoughts. So what are you telling yourself? And who's the person listening to that? So separate your thoughts from who you are. If you can do that, you have so much empowerment. And the other part of really gaining a strong self and knowing who you are so that you can clear your karma in a really strong way is visualization. If you can visualize the outcome to a situation that you really want and not be in illusion with it. Oftentimes I see a lot of young girls and they'll come in and they just want this relationship, this romantic relationship, and they'll say, please, 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 is he coming? Is he coming? Or is so-and-so coming back? And what I inevitably say to them is, listen, it's not about him. It's about you being able to love and have the beautiful feelings with someone. Ultimately, you don't care if it's Tom, Dick, or Harry. You just want to be in love and be beautiful in the feeling of it, in harmony, in a healthy relationship, right? So stop trying to visualize specifics with others that may or may not work out. In other words, just visualize yourself with the goal not dependent on the other, but maybe dependent on not dependent on the specific other, but dependent on an other. For instance, if you're trying to manifest love in your life, picture yourself with the relationship you want, the partner that you want, the qualities they have, the way they will treat you, what your ideal is. Don't put a person to it. Don't put a name or a face to it. Just feel that energy and let it come to you. If you need to clear karma in that way, don't make it so much about the ex-husband or the fight with the sister, or make it about what is this energy. Hi, Donna. Make it about what is this energy. Was I jealous? Was I ashamed? Was I deprived? And go into that energy and try and find what you need to heal to get closure for yourself. Our lessons are never about the other. They're always about whatever is inside of us with our higher self. And if we can really learn to know ourselves better, clearing the karma becomes easier because we have a strong sense of self, dependent upon our own thoughts and our own healthiness. And in that, we can love wholeheartedly. It's not about this one coming to me, or this person saying they're sorry, or this person giving me forgiveness. We give that to ourselves. And that's how we have closure and clear karma. This is beautiful energy in June to do that, because the stars are aligned in triangles and trines. And any of you who study geometry or even sacred geometry, a triangle is the most sturdiest form that energy can take. So we have some of the most stable energy in the universe right now, pulling us forward so that we can clear things for the next step in our life. So if you have any questions or comments, you can post them and I will try to answer them. So remember, when you're trying to clear karma, don't think you need to go talk to the other person. Just ask yourself, how did I get in this situation in the first place, and clear that, because it's always about us and the lessons that we need to learn. And if you can do that, you're ready for your next step. So in closing tonight, I'm going to leave you all with this question. What is my first next step? Where do I want to create a beautiful life? How do I want my life to be? And what is my first next step? And take baby steps, you know. Every day I try to do something my future self will thank me for. And I know that's cliche, but sometimes it's just going for a walk with my dog. Sometimes it's picking up a phone and talking to somebody I haven't seen in a long time. This afternoon it was doing my yoga. It's very difficult for me with my regular position in life as far as my career, my job, to get to a yoga studio because the times conflict with the times I need to be somewhere. And so I actually found on, I have Fire Stick on Gaia TV, that they have yoga, and I lit some candles and drew the blinds and pulled out my mat and turned my den into a yoga studio and did my practice this afternoon. And it was very hard. I've been off my mat for a very long time, but I knew if I did that, I would be in balance and in harmony, and that was my first next step. And I wanted to do that before this video so that I could give my message to you about what I've learned in my life. I always feel so much empathy for anyone in the universe who is in a dark place and detriment, because I have been in such dark places in my life and emerged. And what I'm going to say in closing is, when you're thinking about your next first step, the mere fact that you're watching this video, that you're subscribing to my YouTube channel, please, 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 that you are seeking something that will raise you up, that mere fact means you are coming out of your darkness, and it will happen. And once you realize there is darkness there, the reason you realize that is because light came. Because we have no shadow unless there's light. So if you're seeing the shadows, or if the shadows are lurking in your life, it's because the light is calling you. And I know that from my own experience. So if ever you want a reading or healing, or if you just want to chat with me, reach out. I will give you the benefit of my experience. I don't consider myself the guru of all time or the expert of everything, but I do want to use what has happened to me in my life to help others never feel the way I felt when I was at my darkest and my loneliest time. So you are loved. Know that. Go out and clear some karma. This month of June has beautiful energy for that. And I know that you will all be able to clear things and feel lighter and better. Again, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find me on GeorgiaRoseConnection.com for a reading or healing session. I know a couple of people have reached out to me this week. I will be getting back to you. And have a beautiful evening. Go out and see some of the stars. I think the wind is speaking to us. I always hear things in the wind. So if you can go out there, please, please, please do. And ground with nature. This is beautiful energy for that. I love you all. Thank you so much for your support. Please like, share this video, share any of my YouTube videos. I love when you do that. I'm really trying to build an audience. Together, we can all heal the world. Thank you so much. I love you. Good night.